So today I was at a networking group. Not unusual for me. I'm always at these networking groups, especially considering I run one here on the Central Coast. But we've got another group that we've just launched, a sister group, and as part of that process, they needed someone to do what we call the Excite presentation. It's really just an educational piece where we talk about what we do, why we do it, and how that can help people sitting in that room. And my topic was digital technology. That's what I talked about today. Which is unsurprising because, let's face it, that's what I love talking about. How we can use digital technology to transform our businesses, to create new outcomes. And the fascinating aspect of that, and this is a bunch of business owners, right? Small business owners who are there to help grow their business. And so it was targeted and pitched exactly at what they're trying to solve. And really, it comes down to what I've spoken about before called the 1,000 paper cut. These are the 1,000 little things that you have in your business that, quite frankly, are annoying. But they're small. You don't want to put too much attention to it. Maybe it's a paper-based form that you always thought, oh, we'll sort that out one day, or an Excel spreadsheet that you rely on to manage your list of customers or some other aspect of your business. So what the topic was, and I talked about was how we can actually use tech to change and solve these small problems, and it all comes back to one thing: empowerment. It's all well and good to have access and on tap to people like myself and businesses like mine to help solve these problems. But when you rely on these types of people, it can become, expensive very quickly, and it means that you have to wait in line sometimes to get things done. And occasionally, unless it's a certain size piece of work, that other organization isn't interested in helping. Right? So you're stuck and you need to work out, well, how am I going to solve this? And so you just use the tools that you know and are comfortable and solve it that way, which is why we see Excel and spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff everywhere, right? Or people rely on paper-based forms or manual processes because it's just easier to just get that done. The thing with business, we don't lack from problems to solve, right? We simply do not lack from that. There are so many things coming at you, and if you're in the hot seat of being the business owner, you know exactly what I mean. There's always another thing to solve just waiting around the corner as soon as you fix that one. So what you do is you just solve that problem enough so it goes away, problem fixed, and then you move on to the next one. And you rinse and repeat, and you can do this. Thing is, as those ones that you fixed early on in the piece, you probably just put together whatever worked. Didn't think about it, just do it that way. And over time, what this creates is this snowball effect, where you've got all these little problems that have been solved, but in a quick and dirty way, that now you have a pile of processes, a pile of systems in your business that have all been crafted quick and dirty. Now, some of them are even worse in that you've got a new process or a new thing you need to create that relies on this old process, but you don't change that old process because it's working. Why would you want to change it? It's working. Hey, broke, don't fix. So now you have to make some, conceits or some workarounds to allow this new process to work against this old process, which wasn't optimized. It was just decided that that's what we would do, and you worked it out. Now, as your business grows, this problem becomes bigger because it's not only you delivering these changes, it's your entire team. So what we try to do and help with our clients is to change this. To stop, as a quote I saw the other day by Ronald Reagan, where he said status quo. It quite literally means the mess we find ourselves in. Now, that's not the exact translation, but it's really true because we do things a certain way and we get comfortable with that. It becomes a status quo. And let's be honest, let's be fair. It becomes a bit of a mess. So our first goal is to help understand what that mess looks like. And this isn't to be say that your business is messy or it's broken or anything like that. No, you're in business, you're successful. It must be doing something right. But let's see if we can make it better. You know, if you're generating $1 million of revenue every year, it'd be great with the same team to be able to generate $2 million worth of revenue every year with about the same amount of effort. That would be an awesome outcome. And this is what we look for our clients. And we do this first off by understanding what you have. You get to understand that mess of systems that you have, how they all fit together, and what they're supposed to be doing. We then apply our future ready model over that and use that as a lens to help us ask the questions around each one of those parts. How is this helping improve experiences for people? How is this helping share knowledge or deliver outcomes for people better? And then finally, how does this help deliver scale to your business? 3 things: experience, knowledge, scale. How can we grow all of that? And we use technology to help change that. And even better, and I'm going to come back to the very first bit when I talked about empowerment, we use technologies like Microsoft 365 to embed inside your business, because there's a massive kit bag of things sitting in that platform that you get. Sure, you get email and you get file shares and that sort of stuff, and video conferencing, you know, Teams and SharePoint, OneDrive, and email, Outlook, right? You get that. Cool. That's the easy stuff. That's the bare basics that you should have in your business anyway. But there's a whole bunch of other kit, other tools sitting within that system. And this is the reason we love it so much, because then we can work with you and your people, your team, to empower them to use this kit bag to be able to solve those 1,000 little paper cuts we talked about earlier. It's about empowering your people to solve these problems. Wouldn't it be great? And I've used this example many times, where you have, let's say, an onboarding process for a new customer. We all have them. How do you onboard a new customer? You need a bunch of information from them. Maybe you need a bunch of documentation and other things to be uploaded. But really, there's a lot of information you need to collect from that. So how do you do that today? Chances are it's either send us an email, we'll come and see you and write down a whole bunch of stuff, or it's multiple emails, or perhaps, like in the typical doctor's surgery, you write out your details on a piece of paper. Form. Someone then takes that piece of paper and they key it all into the system, and hopefully they can read your writing. If it's my writing, it's shocking. You can't. Should have been a doctor maybe, because it's that bad. So you then transcribe that into the system, and then that then gets handed off to someone else that maybe they print something out or copy and paste into another system, and, you know, rinse and repeat. And every little step of the way, there's maybe another form that needs to be collected, or another bit of data that needs to be collected to be put into yet another system, etc., etc., etc. Now, back on that. If you wanted to say, hey, why don't we put this onto an iPad, right, or some other tablet device, right? So instead of people writing it on a form and having a receptionist or some other team member key that in, the patient or the customer keys that in directly. Now, it doesn't work for all people. For example, in the doctor's surgery situation, you have to consider what you know, some of the older generations might be dealing with. For example, they're used to pen and paper, but an iPad is confronting. Okay? So that might require some assistance. It might require one of your team members to sit alongside that person and help key it in for them. But that's okay. They feel valued, right? So that's still a good thing. Then once that's submitted, it goes into your customer records system or CRM platform, or data if you're a doctor, wherever it goes. And then that triggers a bunch of other processes. Now, traditionally, to do that, what you'd do is you engage a technology consultant to come and build this thing for you. Usually it starts with a conversation, oh, well, we need to get you a platform. Right, how much is that going to cost? We need to install it, blah, blah, blah. And traditionally it used to be, okay, well, you're going to need a new server for that. We're going to need to stand up this. We're going to do that, that, that. Before you know it, you spent $100,000 and you got nothing yet. Right? That's how it used to be. Roll forward to today, and we've got all these cloud services, and you just hunt around and find one of these services, insert credit card, and then you're still going to need someone. So that gets you the platform, but then you're still going to need someone to build the form out for you. Or you're going to have to learn it yourself. And you go, oh man, that's tricky, or that takes time. It means that I'm not billing, and you're making $200 an hour when you're billing someone, but when you're doing that below the line stuff, building out a form, you're not making any money, right? So you delegate that to someone else, but then they don't necessarily know how it works. Or you just say, you know what, I'm just going to get an external consultant and pay them to do it. Again, it's money out the door to go and build all this sort of stuff. Wouldn't it be great that if that receptionist who's doing the hand coding now comes bouncing in on a Monday morning and says, a fantastic idea. We're going to turn our paper-based forms into an electronic one that we can then put onto an iPad or another tablet, and we can key all this data in it and go straight into our CRM system. And you go, sweet, how do we do that? It's going to cost me a lot of money. They say, no. Why? Because you've got a toolkit now that allows you to do it. Your team is empowered to be able to do this. And it's designed for normal humans, not techies, business people, people who are doing the stuff now to build this stuff out. Sure, they might initially, this is why we get involved, need some help. Just some guidance, some support to just help them along the path. Here, this is how you build it. This is what it looks like. But then we'll show you how the tools work. We'll show you how to change that, more importantly. And over time, you build up this, this series of knowledge, this value within your organization. So that receptionist who comes bouncing in on the Monday morning and says, I'm going to make this a digital form. I'm going to feed it into our CRM or our patient system. And but I just want to check with you, Mr. Business Owner or Mrs. Business Owner, or Miss, etc., that what the process looks like. Maybe you get one or two other people in your business together. You find a little whiteboard or a sketch pad, and you just draw it out and say, right, okay, so when we get this data, it needs to go into here, it needs to go into here, it needs to go into here, it needs to do this. Right, sweet, we know the process. That person can then go away in a few hours, mock up a prototype that you could possibly have live by the end of the day. It can be that quick. This is what we mean by 1,000 paper cuts. They're small tasks. They don't take a lot of time to engineer. There's a bunch of tools that we want to try to help you get in your hands for your business so you can drive these outcomes. So that that person in your business can bounce in and saying, I have this task that I do. It drives me batty. Can I automate it? Can I turn it into a digital-based system? This is what it looks like. Can I go? And all you have to do is say yes, go and spend a couple of hours and build that for us. Perfect. Now, even better, now that you've built it once, we can then reuse that for other purposes. But because you've built it, and you own the process, and you own everything that goes along with this, when something changes, so you need to add a new piece of data to collect, or there's a new privacy rule that comes in that means you can't collect certain pieces of data, or perhaps something like COVID comes along and you have all this other compliance stuff that you need to deal with now, you've got the tools, the capability, and the abilities to build this stuff out being a techie. You don't have to be a technologist. So where do we come in to help you get there? Basically, you've got to start from somewhere. And going up this path alone, if you've ever tried to learn a new skill or a new capability, especially when it means to your business, it takes time. You don't have a lot of time and you need to get this stuff done, but it's valuable for you to get this empowerment. You also don't want to go down this path if it's not right for your business. Why? Because you could spend $100,000 on something that doesn't work for you. You can't afford to make that mistake. You can't afford that sort of luxury of throwing away $100,000. Small business can't do that. Big business do it all the time, but small business can't. So this is what we have built in terms of our business to try to help you go from, hey, we want to become more tech savvy as a business. We know that there's a lot of opportunity in our business to automate stuff, to turn it into digital channels. Our customers are wanting to be able to communicate with us via Skype, via Zoom, via Teams, etc., and video calls. They want to be able to send us emails more easily, or they just want to be able to interact with us on a live chat on the website. They don't necessarily want to come into our physical location. And we're getting inquiries from all around the world. They're also expecting to have a view of all the interactions we have with you, your company, in terms of what's going on. So they'd like to have a portal they can log into to see what those interactions are going, so they can control their costs, so they can understand what those things are going. Imagine you're a builder, right? And you have lots of documents that need to go to and from between you and the client, and you want to be able to manage that in one place so you know what the current version is. Or you're a lawyer and there's a lot of discovery pieces that needs to happen. You need to collect a lot of sensitive information. Where do you put that safely, securely, and allow your client and your team to be able to share and collaborate on that? How do you do that? How do you protect yourselves? How do you protect your clients? There's so many rules and regulations you have to deal with, from privacy. There's hackers and other security concerns are, just even transferring money is a minefield these days, because you can't rely on sending someone your bank details via email, because that might get changed in transit and suddenly that $100,000 they were going to send you goes somewhere else. We've got to be really, really careful about this. So how do you go into this world? How do you take a step into this world to really take advantage of technology, but do it in a way where you've got someone to help guide you on those first steps? Exactly what we're here for. To guide you on those first steps, to get a really good understanding of where you are today and help you map out the next 5 to 10 years. What does that look like? Maybe 10 years is retirement. Great! How do we make sure that you can do that sooner than the 10-year mark, or at least for you to be able to step away from the business before 10 years? But then double the amount of money that you thought you were going to make when you decide to sell your business. This is what we want to work with. We're going to start with that discovery. It's sexy, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of head scratching, but it gives you a really good foundation to get started with. Then we go through foundations, and I've talked about this in other videos, about getting the basics done. And then we can start transitioning you into a new mode of operating, because ultimately, our ultimate goal is so that you don't need us. You call us still, because you just want to test stuff, but ultimately we want to get to the point where you don't need us. You've got the capabilities, you've got the know-how, and the understanding of where your business is going and what technologies you have available to you to solve your problems that you know better than anyone outside of your business ever will. And you're in control. You're driving. You're making these changes, and when something changes, you can change on a dime. The next pandemic hits and you need to totally change the way your business functions. Cool. You just go, yeah, no worries. We're ready to this. We're used to changing. We're used to be able to build stuff and make changes and deliver new outcomes for new things. Maybe you've got one of your team members comes up with a great product idea and you want to test it. You want to stick a little survey out. You should be able to do that pretty much from in the morning. Great idea. Let's get a survey out there and talk and ask our clients what they think of this product or service. By the afternoon, you've sent it. It's done. You're starting to collect data because your customers trust you. You'll send out an email on your newsletters, etc., to say, hey, fill out this survey. Tell us what you think. They all come back and tell you what they think. And you can do that. And you can do that safely and securely without having to necessarily go out and spend even more money getting yet another system that you try to connect it into your business to solve your problems. Use the tools that you can get access to. This is again why we love the Microsoft platform, because most of these tools are there. You can do so much just with that platform and change the world. And really, it's about empowerment. This is what it's about. It's about empowering you and your business to change the world. If we can help you, love to have a conversation, even if it's just to discover what you don't know. Just ask us. We'd love to have a chat. Hope to speak to you soon. And I'm sure you're going to see my face on here again. So until next time.